The views expressed in this video are the sole opinions of Angie McMann. Side effects may include release of emotional constipation, enlargement of the pride, swelling of self-value, and rash bouts of happiness.
It's Don't Poo Poo My Woo Woo.
Welcome to the Halloween edition, which I guess should be called Don't Poo Poo My Woo. Who's ready for a soulful topic and spirited discussion? This girl. Today's woo-woo word of the day is ghosts. I'll bet just the word ghost either made you roll your eyes or your sphincter tightened, but you felt something because no one says ghosts, meh. This is going to be a ghost positivity post, so boo baby. So here's the definition that Merriam-Webster gives for ghost, and for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be using the word ghost, soul, and spirit interchangeably. What is a soul and what is it made of? Is it energy or is it something we haven't discovered yet? The science community likes to keep a firm foot planted in the nope, it's not real and it's all made up in your head camp, but even the science community hasn't proven it doesn't exist. They just can't prove that it does yet. I mean, think of Pythagoras and his buddies back in the day. Dared that they say that the earth was round. And eventually someone proved they were right, and they didn't have the skills yet. Currently in the scientific world, the most convincing argument against ghosts is a gadget called the Large Hadron Collider, or LHC for short. The claim here is that if ghosts existed, the machine would have found them by now. Their assumption is that a spirit must be a form of energy, and energy would be within our scope of measurement. So the argument is that if souls were energy leaving physical matter from our bodies, it would then dissipate based on the laws of thermodynamics. But what if we simply haven't discovered what our souls are made of yet, which is true? To claim that our current level of understanding is how the universe works with a machine seems arrogant, doesn't it? There will always be another machine that can read more and find more, won't there? The religious community has never wavered in claiming there's an afterlife or an eternity. And personally, I think that's a much more pleasant concept because it brings us hope. If it's possible for light from a star to travel forever if it's uninterrupted, why can't our souls? Isn't eternity a description of time? Isn't time just a man-made construct? So, I don't know. So for the sake of argument, I want to ask the question, what if ghosts were real? Why are we so afraid of them? What I'm about to share is a story that I cannot prove in any way. You just have to take my word for it that these things happened. And it revolves around one of my 3 children who has given me permission to share the story, but with respect to their privacy, I am not going to be using their name, and I will be using the they, them pronouns. So bear with me. I'd like to point out that all of these events happened primarily in the daytime, daylight hours, sunshine. My littles was around 9-ish years old. They woke up in the middle of the night crying in a panic, calling out for help. They were inconsolable and told me that there was a little girl at the end of their bed crying for help. Make it stop. My littles kept saying, make it stop. And of course, I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. And I asked them, stop what? And they said, the little girl needs help. She's looking for her father. So, of course, I assumed it was a bad dream. And I took littles in with me and went to sleep and just assured them that we would help the little girl in the morning if the little girl was still around. Over the next few weeks, littles would not go through the house by themselves. They needed to be escorted to the bathroom, to the kitchen, anywhere. They were afraid to walk through the house. And I thought about it a lot, what I could do to make this stop or to make them feel more comfortable. At one point, we were sitting in the family room together, and a look of panic came over Little's face, and they were staring at a spot. And I asked them what was wrong, and they said, "She's right there. Can't you see her?" And of course, I could not. And I asked Littles to address what they were seeing and ask this little girl, this entity, what she wanted. And again, it was the same. She was looking for her father. And I asked Littles to describe what the child looked like. And the little girl sounded normal enough. Present day clothing, nothing unusual, nothing old or scary. And I asked Littles to ask the name of the entity. And the name of the entity came back as Olivia. So I will not say the last name of the little girl, because it so happens that looking up, there is a family with the last name in our community. And I did some research, but apparently records of minors who have passed on are sealed. And I was not about to go and ask this family if they had a child who passed away. I just could not do that. I would hear my littles talking to themselves, which isn't unusual for children when they play. But this was different. It was more held back. Typically when a child is playing, they're spirited or their voice changes, and Littles was not. They were still a bit afraid. Their voice was still showing fear, discussing something with themselves alone in the room. It was like they were speaking to someone that they were not comfortable with. So time goes by. Littles was getting a little bit calmer, a little more used to things. I thought everything was simmering down. And one day I was alone in the house by myself. Everyone was at school and my husband was at work. And my dog, Toby, alive at the time, jumped up out of a sleep and started barking at the top of our stairs where our bedrooms are. And, I know dogs can do that sometimes with flies or, a mouse, or that there was nothing there. I walked upstairs. Toby would not follow. Now, that has never happened before. Toby was part of my entourage. I moved, he moved. He would not follow me up the stairs. I brushed that off. The light, there was a freestanding light plugged into the wall, a standing lamp in my living room, and it went on and stayed on, and I turned it off, and the light went back on. And that was one of the times I stood in the middle of the house feeling like a total idiot, but I did it. And I said, "Olivia, if that is you, please stop. You're scaring me. And I would like you to either help me help you or stop, because you're frightening me." And then during one weekend when my husband was home, our doorbell rang. No one was there, but it wasn't the same song as our doorbell was set to. And he was as creeped out. He didn't believe in ghosts, but he was as creeped out as I was. It was the full song, like someone had punched it. And when we punched the doorbell to test it, it was the right song. So between the time that it happened and the time we came up to check the door, the doorbell was fine again. Not long after those incidences, I was at work and I happened to be alone. What a coincidence. I happened to be alone in the office. And I went into our fax room to send a fax. And it was a smallish room with a little closet. That door opened and there were shelves with some supplies. In this closet, behind the supplies, was a little boom box, a little radio that was hooked up to the wires for the telephone. So when we put clients on hold, they would hear music. And as I was sending the fax, the radio crashed on the floor. The boxes that were sitting in front of it had not fallen. The supplies that were in front of it had not fallen. I told myself maybe there was a rat, maybe there was something in there. There was nothing in the closet. I put the box back and tried to brush it out of my head because I was alone in the office. But that's not even the weirdest part. The weirdest part was coming home and having dinner, and Little said to me, "Olivia went to work with you today." And I asked why, and they responded, "Because she feels safe with you." That was the kind of moment I realized the importance of honoring the souls of the dead. And I decided I would believe in the afterlife even if we can't explain it. So I prayed for Olivia and I asked for divine guidance. The next time I was alone in the house, I called out to Olivia and I asked her not to be afraid to walk towards the light. And she would hopefully find her dad there. I couldn't promise her that, but I just said out loud, again, feeling like a goofball, "Everything's going to be fine, Olivia. Walk towards the light." And I'm not sure who I was convincing, her or me, but I did it. And then not much longer after that, Littles came home from school and said, "Where's Olivia?" And I said, "I don't know why." And they said, "Because I can't find her. She's not here." So I hope Olivia's where she needs to be. The whole experience made me wonder, why are we afraid of ghosts? Aren't they the souls of ancestors, loved ones, mothers, fathers, brothers, cousins? Aren't they people we once loved or who've been loved who are here? And as weird as it was to try and help something that I couldn't see, I know that sounds strange, but would I have ignored a child that came to my door asking for help to find her father? Of course I wouldn't. I didn't want to find out in my afterlife that there was an afterlife and that I didn't help something I couldn't see just because I was uncomfortable. I am strongly suggesting not to call on anything you aren't ready to deal with emotionally. Please do not look for exchanges with spirits and ghosts or souls on the other side. Do not mess with things you don't understand. What I'm saying is maybe ghosts aren't that scary. It's the unknown that is scary. And thinking about how final life is, that is scary. But the souls of our ancestors and loved ones shouldn't be. It's funny because when we avoid someone in real life, we call it ghosting, which I kind of think is unfair because ghosts want to be seen when they need help. So maybe we should call this behavior of ignoring people peopling instead. Because honestly, people are much ruder. So how about this Halloween, show ghosts some holiday spirit, and instead of running screaming and pissing your pants, tell them to walk towards the light. Say a prayer for their soul. Try to be a better person on this plane of existence. And if it's all a bunch of horse hockey, well, happy Halloween anyway.